The Commonwealth and Queensland Governments are shutting down what experts consider to be vital tuberculosis clinics on the outer islands of the Torres Strait. 7:30 can reveal that health departments have decided on a staged closure of these TB services by the end of June. The clinics have been treating Papua New Guinea nationals who are suffering from an extremely contagious and potentially deadly strain of TB. The move's horrified medical specialists. They're warning the decision could put Australians at risk, as Peter McCutcheon reports.
On the remote outer islands of the Torres Strait, Queensland health teams have been running clinics to treat the deadly and highly infectious disease, tuberculosis.
So chest against here, chin on top.
Many of the patients here are Papua New Guinea nationals suffering from MDR-TB.
Rightio, finish. Okay.
A nasty type of tuberculosis that is resistant to many conventional drugs.
In essence, what it means is that the TB is far harder to treat. It takes a lot longer and is a lot more expensive to treat.
For the past 6 years, PNG citizens living near the border have been taking a short trip to Australia for life-saving TB treatment. But the Queensland and Commonwealth governments no longer want to fund a health service for foreign nationals and have decided to shut the program down. The move has deeply worried TB specialists.
Just completely stopping the treatment of these people is a dangerous prospect.
There's a risk that Australians will be exposed to communicable diseases which they shouldn't be exposed to.
3 years ago, the 7:30 report accompanied a Cairns-based TB outreach team during visits to Saibai and Boyu Islands, only kilometres from the PNG mainland. The specialist doctor and nurse spoke about the ethical and legal dilemmas they faced on the international border. Do you sometimes think that I'm breaking the law?
Yeah, regularly, yeah. Every time I come up here.
I can't turn my back on it. I mean, some people might, but we don't. And we've got those ones still to complete.
Multi-drug resistant TB requires long-term treatment, sometimes up to 2 years. And Queensland health staff even issue petrol money to impoverished PNG villages to help them return to the clinics.
Now, I'm making this voucher out for $60.
The argument for providing this service is twofold. First, for humanitarian reasons. The 7:30 report witnessed people crippled with TB begging for help. And second, it's a form of insurance to stop drug-resistant tuberculosis from spreading to the Australian mainland.
If TB is poorly treated, so for example if we didn't treat it in Australia, there's a risk of escalation. So it's not just the individual who doesn't get better, it's transmission of worsening drug resistance, and there is actually evidence that that's happening in the western province of PNG as well.
Dr Justin Waring is chair of the National TB Advisory Committee. He's disturbed at reports, confirmed by 7:30, that the Director-General of Queensland Health directed doctors not to treat PNG nationals. Is that practical?
I don't think it is. I've been told the same thing, and the Queensland TB control program is not in favour of this. In fact, they've told me quite bluntly that they intend to do everything they can to continue to treat these people.
You've been on 3 lots of tablets and the sachets, is that right?
The Commonwealth and Queensland departments declined to speak on camera about the future of the Torres Strait TB clinics. And the head of Queensland's TB control program says he was directed by his department not to speak to 7:30. But in written statements, both departments say the decision to wind down the program by June 30 is financial.
Queensland Health has funded $4 million per annum for about $18 million worth of actual service provision. The Federal Department of Health and Ageing has advised Queensland Health to reduce services because it's unlikely to provide additional funds to cover the cost of full services.
The Commonwealth Department also notes there are
concerns about the increasing impact on access to health services being voiced by Torres Strait communities.
Good morning, gentlemen.
These concerns were raised during a Senate inquiry last year. Giving evidence by video conference, Torres Strait leaders complained about PNG nationals exploiting a law that allows them to visit Australia for traditional purposes.
Stop the movement of people purely for health reasons. There are 13 Western Province communities now, plus an additional 16 communities outside of the treaty zone who access our health facilities.
The reality is, Peter, that this is a very complicated geographic environment. People move back and forth across what is a very porous border on a very regular basis. There are a large number of tens of thousands of movements a year.
Liberal Senator Russell Trude chaired last year's Senate inquiry. He says the committee didn't recommend the shutting down of the TB clinics.
Okay, you can have a seat now.
On the contrary, it recommended the Commonwealth should consider giving more assistance to Queensland.
The Queensland Government Health Service, although I'm not a great fan of it in many ways, but the reality is that it's providing a service on behalf of the Commonwealth, and it ought to be properly funded for it.
There is general agreement that Papua New Guinea needs to do more to provide basic health services to the people of the Western Province. And the 60 or so PNG nationals currently being treated by Queensland Health for tuberculosis will be referred to their local hospital. But Australian medical experts say realistically, PNG won't be in a position to manage its own TB crisis for at least another decade.
In the short term, not treating these people that come across the water to Australia runs the risk of transmission and escalation of the drug resistance and ultimately potentially putting Australian residents at risk.